He's playing a game. So, there we go. We'll pick him up later. So, ladies and gents, some of you said you're not sure what square root means. So, up here, if you want the square root of 16, what you are looking for, don't come to me later and say, I don't know why, I just don't get this. What you are looking for is some number times itself to give you 16. Is there a number that you can multiply times itself that will give you 16? Right. So the square root of 16 is just 4. Why? Because if I take this number and multiply it by itself, 4 times 4, I get 16, right? So what's the square root of 49? 7. Why? Because 7 times 7 is 49. Square root of 81? 9. Right, 9 times 9. So not really much work for that, right? When I get over here, the square root of negative 16. Well, everyone's always tempted to say negative 4. Hi, Megan. But what is negative 4 times negative 4? Positive 16. So then they say, well, I know it can't be 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16, positive. Well, what about a negative 4 times a positive 4? Right, they're not the same. It has to be the number times itself. So what number times itself would give you a negative? Nothing. So what we say for this, it's not real. It's not a real number. It's not a real number. Yeah. Well, it's not, it's imaginary. When you get to Algebra 2, well, some of you, when you get to Algebra 2, will learn about imaginary numbers, but it's not a real number. It's not no solution. There is a solution. It's just not a real number. This one, on the other hand, square root of 16 is 4, but then you can put a negative sign in front of it. So that means 4 times 4 is 16, but then the negative out front. How about this one? What is 4 times 4? 16. But would you really even have to do that? What number times itself? So what would the answer to this be? 4. So what if I had this? 84. 84. Yeah, it would be 84. Do you even have to work that out? I wouldn't bother. What number times itself? It's going to be 84. Isn't that easy? Do you have any questions so far? And by the way, I don't know if I just said this, but how much work is there? None, right? So no questions so far? Now, you know those little gray boxes in the book that have all those letters and a bunch of words, and you usually look at it and say, what? I don't know what this means. You know those gray boxes? Yeah. Well, one of those gray boxes says, if you have a fraction underneath the square root, you can break that up. Square root 9, square root 25. What is square root of 9 on top? 3. What is square root of 25 on bottom? 9. Yeah, isn't that easy? It's just 2 square root problems put in one. Here, the rule says you can break it down. Square root 4, square root 81, 2, and square root of 89. Makes sense so far? And then the last one is just along with the square root, it's remembering about the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? Inside here, we've got to do all of this before we take the square root. So inside, what comes first, exponents or subtraction? Exponents. If you remember the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, what is 10 squared? 100. 6 squared?
36.
Yeah. Now do the subtraction. 100 take away 36 is? Yeah, yippee, what's square root of 64? 8. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? One more just for fun. Just for fun. And this one, you've got to do each piece separately and then subtract, right? So square root of 5 squared, that's 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Or you wouldn't have really had to do this step. It's 5 squared. The square root of 5 squared is 5, right? Same thing with this one. It's 4 times 4 is 16. What's the square root of 16? And same thing, you wouldn't have had to do that step necessarily. And what is 5 times 4? Sorry, not 5 times 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Feels more festive with a flower around it, doesn't it, Sean? So that's about all I have to say. Easy, right? Well, I think I should add to it, though. It's way too early. Right? It's way too early.
For what?
To give the assignment. Do you have any questions?
No.
Are there any questions? Does anyone have a question?
I don't think so.
So there it is over there. Peyton says no questions. Sean, would you hit the other light for us? Off. Sorry. Ooh. I could record in the dark.